Three, two, one. Are we live? It said we were live 5 seconds ago, but I think we live now. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Fabulites. This is Angela, and the channel is Be Fabulous You, and we are on the social development section of the Independent Black Agenda, as presented by the Federation of the Independent Black Agenda, also known as FATIBA, a plan for self-determination. So just reading through a document, this document was prepared in the 90s here locally in Detroit, I believe by the Council of Elders and some other people. But we're on the section entitled Social Development. This section is organized a little bit differently. It does have, I believe, as the other sections had, a family code of ethics, but it's just kind of, yeah, we just gonna go through it. But there's, in this social development, we talk about, there's a section on quality of life, there's a section on Council of Elders, there's a section on rites of passage, a section on African-centered education, there is a section on holistic health, there is a section on family code of ethics, and then there is a section on media. This is the longest part of the pamphlet, the booklet. So let us proceed. Did I say I'm Angela and the channel is Be Fabulous You? Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, and being here, being you, and being fabulous you. In quality of life, in order to raise the quality of life and encourage cultural development, Black/African people must develop, own, and control the media and arts in our community. Artistic and cultural development is crucial for spiritual, mental, and physical health. This must be directed by ourselves and be life-sustaining. We must provide information on health and nutrition to our people. We must monitor foreign-owned stores, confront merchants selling tainted products, and develop our own outlets for food and distribution. We must reclaim the minds and bodies of our people by re-educating them to the holistic African-centered perspective, and by example set them on a positive course of living. We therefore advocate the following. So that was kind of like an overview. Council of Elders. Establishing councils of elders in order to draw upon their experiences, knowledge, and wisdom. These councils will reestablish respect for our elders and provide a means for advising, counseling, guiding, and resolving conflicts within our community. Rites of passage. Support and or establish local, national, and international councils to set standard for rites of passage programs, i.e. African National Rites of Passage Collective, Simba na Malaika wa Changa, which maybe these are some examples of some national, international rites of passage programs I'm not familiar with, which will be universally accepted in our community. These standards will address expectations and ethical conducts in regard to self, family, community, and nation. African-centered education. Implementation of African-centered curriculum wherever our children attend school. African-centered education seeks to A. Center African people in our own historical and cultural experience. B. Affirm Africa as the birthplace of humanity and the cradle of civilization. C. Address the learning styles of African people. D. Teach the perspectives, accomplishments, and contributions of African people. E. Reestablish and affirm the African worldview based upon the principles of Ma'at, in parentheses, peace, truth, harmony, balance, order, and reciprocity. F. Support the development, liberation, and empowerment of African people throughout the world. G. Affirm and infuse the arts as integral and a necessary component to an African-centered education. 2. Support African-centered schools with financial, material, and human resources 3, support efforts to infuse African-centered curricula in all public, private, and state educational institutions on a local, national, and international level. 4, establish and support an African-centered education training academy. 5, support efforts to create a national board of education. Hey, welcome on the chat. Of people of African ancestry. This body should certify African-centered teachers, institutions, and consultants. I really like that. Y'all, you know I'm like educationally focused. Holistic health. 1, improved information and support for existing organizations that are conducting programs of holistic life-sustaining healthcare and nutritional counseling. 2, conducting holistic health sessions in African spiritual institutions, community organizations, and local schools, stressing the importance of quality food, preventative and life-sustaining healthcare. 3, support of independent Black/African effort to control production, distribution, and retail sale of food in our community, including Black/African farmers and community garden programs. 4, support of community efforts to monitor the quality of food in local stores and the expansion of these efforts. 5, community-wide awareness of the involvement of the United States government agencies and law enforcement in activities that are detrimental to the health of our community. The manufacture and distribution of illegal and legal drugs, chemicals, toxins, and hazardous materials, and shooting us. 6, development of drug and arresting us. 6, development of drug. These things are detrimental to our health. 6, development of drug awareness programs that are culturally based and African-centered. We discourage the use of drugs. 7, development of a community-wide security network and efforts to identify and shut down dope houses as directed and led by African people. 8, support the development of a universal health care policy. 9, support melanin research. 10, adopt African standards to hold healthcare institutions accountable to halt using emergency rooms as primary care and to recommend treatment and services to address HIV and AIDS, cancer, diabetes, heart disease, kidney disease, lung disease, and other diseases and health risk factors which lead to the premature death of African people. Family code of ethics. 1, we acknowledge the presence and the priority of a divine creative force, and we further acknowledge the significance of the extended family as the primary focal point of the community of African-centered families. 2, we encourage shared responsibility and cooperative parenting and structured social interrelations within and among intergenerational African families to promote communal bonding. 3, we recognize the sacredness of children, understanding that they require love, respect, nurturing, and guidance in order to adequately develop and take on the responsibility of our collective destiny. 4, we advocate respect for life and responsibility within the family structure, particularly recognizing the Black/African woman as the mother of humanity who has stood strong and maintained a standard and quality of life in the face of adversity. In the face of adversity, we recognize the Black/African man as the father of humanity, as the protector and provider. We also recognize the elders as ones to be revered and respected, given their wealth of experience and wisdom. 5, we celebrate positive man/woman relationships via marriages, anniversaries, etc. 6, Supporting imprisoned Black/African men and women. Incarcerated Black/African men and women are still part of our community. Economic exploitation, racism, inferior education, an inundation of drugs, crooked police, and a deficit of African consciousness contribute to the disproportionately high number of African Black/African men and women incarcerated in prisons throughout the United States. The vast majority of those imprisoned will return to our communities. It is our responsibility to play a role in those men and women returning as assets rather than liabilities. This includes providing information, lectures, cultural shows, and atonement rituals to imprisoned men and women, and contributing to the productive re-entry and atonement of those returning to our communities. We must actively support the release of political prisoners, prisoners of war, and others unjustly incarcerated. As African exiles who are descendants of political prisoners, we must actively work to counter the white supremacist re-enslavement process as impacted by racial profiling, crack cocaine sentence disparity, government-conspired drug distribution, private sector profiteering, slave labor, and contracting policies which sustain rural European communities via warehouse shackling of Africans. Wow, I think they're talking there about the fact that a lot of these prison places are like in rural white communities. Wow. We must implement a plan to promote intensive organizing, youth mentoring, leadership development, entrepreneurship, and other efforts to strengthen the connectivity of our families. Media. 1. Supporting and maintaining existing independent Black/African media. 2. Supporting the establishment of independent print, electronic media, and distribution networks. 3. Issuing position statements and participating in guest viewpoints on important issues that affect our community. 4. Encouraging African community artists and entertainers to develop positive images of Black/African people. 5. Holding media that promote negative images of Black/African people accountable by A. Monitoring stations, B. Withholding ads, C. Letter writing campaigns, D. Challenging licenses with the FCC. And also just not watching and buying the stuff. Okay, so that's the end of that section. Okay, so in case people are able to read and screenshot, I've been trying to show what I just read. I don't know if you got it. Did you get it? Did you get it? Did you get it? Family Code of Ethics. I think that's the last part, the media. And that's what I got. Again, today is the best day ever. You are the greatest. You're the #1 stunner. I just put up the quad season 2, episode 6. And I'm about to shortly put up notes on the news. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being here, being you, and being fabulous, darling. Peace. Be you. Be fabulous. Be fabulous. You. Be you.